Response video to a TikToker who I'm not going to name, although she should be shamed. Um, One of the anything but conservative people, who of course think that anyone who participated or supported in the Freedom Convoy in Ottawa in 2022 are freedomers. Well, you said you were patriots. If you're patriots, why don't you take your trucks and go to the border and hold Trump at bay? Better yet, go down to Capitol Hill there and just tell Trump how it should be. Okay, honey. I don't think we need to address that. But anyways, she went on to say that the truckers had defecated all over the streets in Ottawa. Point one. No, that never happened. Imagine if a homeless individual or someone who was intoxicated had actually, you know, pooped on the streets in Ottawa. There would have been a CBC reporter there to stick a baseball cap on him and brand him as a trucker. Never happened, honey. That wasn't going on. In fact, the streets had never been cleaner. There's all kinds of video footage. Everybody was up at the crack of dawn, shoveling, emptying out the garbage pails for the municipal workers. The city had never been cleaner. She went on to whine about, the noise, and an illegal occupation. 3 levels of court have said you can't call it an occupation. Doesn't meet the dictionary definition of an occupation or the legal definition of an occupation. And in fact, it was the whole thing legal. Okay. Basically, and here's another one, and she didn't mention it. I'm going to leave her be now, and we'll just go to the general misconceptions. The borders were all open to a 1 when Trudeau declared the Emergencies Act. Another misconception these freedomers have when they're tonguing down the convoy and convoy supporters is, they were all provincial mandates. You guys are dummies. No, it was a federal mandate upon the truckers that they had to take to get across the border, and that was the whole government overreach thing. That was the straw that broke the camel's back. The protest was largely about, and I do mean largely in the populace's support, it was about government overreach. It really was. What else did she? Oh yes, the Yahtzee flags. There was 1.5 Yahtzee flags in Ottawa that there's any visual recorded evidence of. By the half flag, I mean there was an elderly gentleman, and I forget what European country he was from. I think it might have been Poland. He had drawn the symbol on the Canadian flag, expressing his opinion that Canada was becoming a Yahtzee-like state. And there's video evidence of, a bunch of people came up to him and said, well, dude, that could be misconstrued. I don't think that's a good idea. And he readily said, oh, I pick up what you're putting down. You're right. Absolutely. They folded the flag up and threw it in the garbage. The one Yahtzee flag that there's any evidence of was on a parliament building that was closed to the public. There was no public access to that building at that time. The Yahtzee flag was hung all freshly creased right out of the bag, and didn't hang there very long, and the video evidence is a bit sketchy, but it kind of looked like it was Justin Trudeau's personal photographer who came out and snatched it off and scampered away with it. Yeah. What else did we have going on in Ottawa? Well, let's leave it at that. The borders were open. I'll touch on the border crossing in Alberta, the Coots crossing, momentarily. But I want to stress that the first investigation, the Rouleau Commission, it became to be called, into the enactment of the Emergencies Act by Justin Trudeau, it came out clearly that CSIS, the RCMP, the Ontario Provincial Police, and the Ottawa City Police, as well as other various little security agencies we've got, had all advised Trudeau not. It was unnecessary to enact the Emergencies Act. And in fact, Trudeau, under testimony in that commission, said even that his cabinet had recommended against it, against invoking it, and that the decision was his alone. He said that under testimony. I'm not even paraphrasing him, but that's what he said. And the federal court has ruled that it was in violation of our Constitution, our Charter of Rights, I'm sorry. We just refer to it as the Charter. 2 sections it was in violation of, and it did not pass parliamentary procedure properly either. That's why it only ran for, I forget how many days now, but if it had ran 1 day longer, it would have had to go through this parliamentary procedure. So, you see, he pulled a slippery one. He's appealing that decision in the federal court, by the way. So, I better summate with what had happened at Coots. Oh, I've gone on for a while. That border wasn't closed. It's the Alberta border to Montana. Big service roads on both sides. They may have at one point had it closed to reduced to 1 lane. And there was a gathering there, and it was growing in numbers in support of Ottawa. And it was rumored, and I think there was some degree of fact in it, that a convoy was coming down from northern Alberta, from Edmonton, to join with the Coots, Alberta protest. And the RCMP, at the Alberta government's behest, closed the road and blocked them off. Yeah, it was the RCMP that closed, not the border, but the border road. I mean the highway. Well, that set everyone off big time. They just drove around the hapless cops. All kinds of footage. Tractors, farm tractors, pickup trucks, everything. Just driving around. These RCMP were standing there going, gee, Louie, I thought we blocked the road. And then there's that guy who flew in the helicopter with 1,000 pounds of food. But, yeah. And I think this gal said in her video, too, it cost billions of dollars to clean up Ottawa afterwards. No, it didn't. What are you talking about? Excuse me. And I'd be remiss not to mention those men in green, the thugs in Ottawa, those were UN troops. Plenty of irrefutable video footage of that. And yes, they came in on 2 planes to that little airport in North Bay. And the tail wing, or the tail numbers, someone identified both of those planes were registered to Schwab, I'll say Schwab Incorporated and Schwab Limited. Although that's not quite right, but I'm not going to go try and find it now. Still a lot of misconceptions out there. Still a lot of dumb people.